Zadarius Smith retires. He got out of here as the Eagles are looking to turn their season around. My name is Rich Hofmann. I'm here with EJ Smith. We are going to talk about Zadarius Smith and what we would do to turn this Eagles season around. It is next on the PHLY Eagles show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles show presented by Bet365 and Ashley and live from the Xfinity studio. I am not Bo Wolf. My name is Rich Hofmann. Bo will be back tomorrow. Yeah, it is me. And this is EJ Smith, who just learned that it is me as well. EJ, how we doing, my man? I gotta say, I'm happy you made it in today because you were putting out some I think some food porn is the right term on the old timeline yesterday.
Yeah, I got to be honest. Zadarius Smith wasn't the only Smith in the Philadelphia area who woke up this morning after the mini bye. You see the clouds outside. It's cold and it's rainy. It's just a bad combo. Woke up this morning and thought to myself, man, it would be nice to stay in slow motion today. Now, Zadarius Smith, he's got some more capacity for retirement than I have at this stage in my life. I'm only 31 years old. I wasn't planning on retiring, but hey, listen, you can't knock the guy. Well, maybe you can, but I understand. Those early mornings.
Look, I'm happy you made it up here, but the idea of the breaking news graphic of EJ Smith retires. He informed
EJ Smith heard that the elevator was broken in the studio today and was like, I am not climbing up those 7 flights of stairs.
he informs the PHLY staff after the equivalent of 5 games of podcasting. Yeah. Zadarius Smith is done. By the way, those stairs are absolutely brutal.
Yeah, they're like creaky too, which just adds to the misery. But I mean, I'm going to be positive about it. It's good. It's a good workout.
It's a great workout.
Yeah, it's like a little mini Stairmaster right before the show. Gets the energy up.
Yeah. So Zadarius Smith, like you said, he did retire. He said, you know what? I am completely done with this today. And EJ, I guess my first question is, well, it's not even a question. I think everybody should just stay tuned for this week's episode of Brandon Graham Unblocked to see Howie Roseman offer BG a contract on air. No, I'm kidding. You should still listen to the show and subscribe and all that stuff. But I have a few questions for you about this Zadarius Smith retirement. I mean, it was fast. He signed the day after the Week 1 win over Dallas, and he did not even make it to Week 7. So first question for you, EJ. Is this something to be viewed as separate from the general malaise of the start of this season, or do you find it linked in any sort of capacity?
I mean, I think the only link that I would trace back to is that Zadarius Smith did sign with this team because he felt like, this team had a chance to win a Super Bowl. And I don't think it's as simple as saying like his retirement announcement is a reflection of how he feels about the team. But I do think, like, let's be real here. Like if the Eagles were 7-0 or 7-0, that's the right math.
That's the right math.
If the Eagles were 7-0 right now, like would Zadarius Smith be?
The abacus out.
I might need the abacus for a second here. But yeah, if the Eagles were 7-0, does he still have the same decision? It's an interesting question, but I do think more so, I think that you should view this in a vacuum. Like this is a guy who did not go through, I think Frey made a great point during our emergency pod. Like, he is someone who did not go through offseason training. He did not go through training camp. Because of all those things, like, the short week, you play Sunday, you play Thursday, and then you get the mini bye, you get the weekend off. It probably is important to remember like all of the context about like he probably didn't feel great coming out of that game. And then, this is the morning where you wake up again, it's dreary out there and you have to make a decision on like, if you want to, continue, you want to get back to the facility and go again. So to me, I think that's primarily my view of it, is kind of just like a personal decision. Again, I know that he informed the team this morning, so it seems like something he thought about throughout the weekend. So yeah, I don't think it's necessarily like a reflection of like, oh my God, like things are going terribly with the Eagles, that they've got guys just like jumping ship. I don't think it's that simple. I think that again, like the record might be a small factor in it, but I think it's mostly just probably a guy toward the end of his career deciding like the grind of a season is too much for him.
The MetLife turf takes another victim. And yeah, I think that's probably right. If they were 6-0, by the way, that's the right number.
Oh, so I was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's week 7, but
yeah, if they were 6-0 right now,
that's pretty easy math. Although I didn't correct you right away as well too. So I'll take at least a quarter of the.
So the abacus needs to become like a permanent fixture on the show at this point. Yeah.
Just you moving up to 1, 2, 3. So yeah, more of just kind of a hits keep on coming type of thing. I guess, how was he to deal with in the locker room? Like, was he was there?
Good. Yeah.
I mean, obviously a veteran player or somebody who, I don't know. I tend to find the veteran guys more interesting just because, I don't know, they've experienced more and they've probably played for a few other teams around the NFL. We'll get to Lane Johnson's quotes in a couple segments here, which I thought were pretty important. But I guess, what type of vibe was he giving you? Did you think this was coming?
No, it definitely came out of left field, because I remember asking him after week 1, like, how much do you feel like you have left in the tank? Like, and what I was getting at with him, and I think that it's always, because I always find it interesting with players toward the end of their careers, like, what is your plan post football? Like, what are the things you want to do once you retire? And I wanted to get a sense from him if he had thought about those things. And he clearly didn't. He pushed back very hard on the notion that like he was toward the end of his career. He talked about the fact that he only played 1 year of high school football. He said he was young in the game still, and that he never had fears like going through training camp without a team, that he was not going to be on an NFL roster. So it was literally a little bit over a month ago that he was saying these things. And I think it does show you how quickly his mind changed about like being someone who thought that he had like, a year or 2 left in the league, to being like, you know what, this is it for me.
Look, I get it, right? He did not go through a training camp. He probably was like, man, this is tougher than I thought it was going to be.
He wasn't playing bad though. He leads the Eagles edge rusher group with 1.5 sacks, which is its own conversation. Yeah.
Well, EJ, you just led me into question number 2, and I'm sure you know the answer, but why don't you tell everybody who the king of the edge rusher room is now that Zadarius Smith has retired?
It's Patrick Johnson.
Patrick Johnson with 1 sack
because I wanted to tweet out earlier today, like Zadarius Smith is the only edge rusher with a sack. And I was like, oh wait, no, Patrick Johnson is up to a sack on the season. So they have Jalen Hunt, Patrick Johnson, Josh Uche, and Azeez Ojulari. Those are the 4 healthy edge rushers on the active roster right now.
Yeah. And I mean, look, Patrick Johnson, valuable special teamer, a guy that they waived at the beginning of last season, got him back this year. The idea that in week 7, after a 4-2 start, which is 6, I gotta get this in my head as well. The fact that he's walking into the edge rusher room with who's that? Jeremiah Washburn in there. Yeah. And he's like, all right, you guys got to catch up to me now. You got to get on my level with 1 sack. That's not a great spot for the Eagles to be in. Okay. So with that in mind, and I know you touched on this a little bit with Fran, but does this change the Nakobe Dean calculus at all? I forget what exact pod it was. It might have been last Wednesday when you had Fran and the professor on. And I think one of you were talking about the whole Nakobe Dean situation, and with the 2 linebackers already entrenched and playing very well. And somebody talked about how an injury, which you're not rooting for, could technically clarify the situation where, okay, somebody goes down, then you just play the other 2 guys. Could an injury to the edge rusher group clarify things? Because, like, look, I personally don't think they're going to mess with it, but I think we have to admit, if there was ever a situation dire enough for the Eagles to give it a shot, it's probably looking something like this.
Yeah, I still have a hard time getting there. Let's take Zach Bond out of this conversation completely, because I think I have very little, like, there's a very low chance that I think they're going to take one of the, if not the best off-ball linebacker in the NFL and say, hey, why don't you play edge for us? We really need some help off the edge. I think he is a separate conversation. I think that Jahad Campbell, I'm still not really convinced that he is an edge rusher in Vic Fangio's eyes based off the answers that he's given us throughout the season. I think he has a future to be able to play both, the Andrew Van Ginkel role. Like, I think he could grow into a more versatile role, but I think, especially after watching him in training camp when they threw so much on his plate, and he did sort of struggle at times with all of that, and they pared it back, And ever since then, he's played really well. As an off-ball linebacker, he has been very effective. So to me, I don't think you mess with the rookie. I don't think you tell him like, okay, I know you've been playing great as an off-ball linebacker. I know he plays as an overhang player sometimes against the run, especially, but I just don't think you want him taking too many like true pass rushing snaps. But I mean, Fran mentioned it earlier today. Like, if you think that is part of his future, maybe it is like, okay, listen, like we're going to start getting you some of those reps now, get you integrated earlier than we expected because of an injury situation, because you do have Nakobe Dean who can backfill that linebacker spot. To me, I still think the best way to insulate like the lack of production on the edge is to just continue to blitz those guys. But between Jahad Campbell, Zach Bond, if you rotate Nakobe Dean into that linebacking core, we've seen the Eagles use a lot of sim pressures. I think that we could continue to see them use a lot of sim pressures where if you don't like your edge rushers rushing off the edge, drop them into coverage every once in a while. And then it's not like they have like elaborate coverage responsibilities. It's really just dropping to a spot and, kind of being a body in space. But I think that they can compensate for it. But realistically, I still struggle with this one because I think in like a sim pressure world, like it's becoming more popular. You're seeing more teams really lean into them.
I can't believe that the Eagles offense isn't better against it with how much their defense does it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Vic, get into Patullo's
show him like
get into his office and show him how this stuff works.
Like, look what Baker Mayfield or look what Jackson Dart did against the sim pressure. But yeah, I just think like I still have a hard time believing that the Eagles can win like high leverage games against elite quarterbacks without addressing this edge group.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And like, look, I appreciate that Vic Fangio has more of sort of a holistic view of the defensive end position. Where if you're Bryce Huffing it up in run defense, that's not going to work. You need to be more well rounded. I think he talked about it at his press conference last week as well when he got asked about the edge rush group, and he was like, "Look, it's down across the league. We're getting closer than you think." Like he didn't seem too worried about it.
Not like he doesn't build his defense like you mentioned. He does not build his defense around like edge pressure or really just like he's not as reliant on the front four being the dominant forces like we have seen past Eagles defensive coordinators be.
No, and look, I think that's a good thing because that means you have more ways to win. And I would argue that with the blitzing, is it great that he's blitzing in large part because they're not getting pressure with the front four? Like, no, but it shows that there is a malleability with him, and that he's willing to try different things. I like that. But like you said, like that is a core element of your football team. At some point, you are going to have to be able to get home with those four guys. The other thing with Campbell, real quick, to put a bow on that too, he doesn't look like he quite has the size of an edge rusher.
Yeah, I mean, but he's like not too dissimilar to Nolan in stature. I mean, Nolan just is like crazy off the edge, so it kind of works. But yeah, I'm with you. He wouldn't be a conventional edge rusher, and he's definitely not like. If we're talking about him as like part of that rotation, it is kind of funny because you kind of need two guys now. You need like the guy who's just going to give you credible like snaps down in and down out, like an early down guy, a dirty work guy, because that was some of the stuff you were getting with Zadarius Smith. You also kind of need a difference maker. You need a guy who can you can put in high leverage downs and stuff like that. So I don't know which one Jahad Campbell really falls in. I don't think you're like going, that guy's going to give us, the key pass rush on the third down, but you also probably don't want him out there on early down, just like cracking skulls with offensive tackles at the line of scrimmage.
Definitely don't. That's how Nolan Smith gets hurt.
Exactly. So it's not a clean fit. Again, I mean, they are in a bad spot. They're not there's not a good option right now at edge rusher. The good option would have been for Azeez Ojulari or Josh Uche to hit at a higher rate than they have. So to me, they are going to have to figure this out, mid-season, and that inherently is going to leave them without a lot of good options.
That's a good tease for the next segment. We have Kevin and CDP in the chat. They're offering Cooper DeJean and Keely Ringo as potential edge rushers. As
Cooper Kevin says, be a terrible edge rusher.
Kevin says Keely's got to be good at something. That's a shot at you, by the way.
It's not a shot at me. I'm keeping my Keely Ringo stock. I mean, there's no sense in selling it at this point.
That's a Wolf of Wall Street.
I do
penny
remember
stock at this point.
Jim Schwartz used to say that like Avonte Maddox could play any position on defense. I think we're getting there with Cooper DeJean. Like that guy could probably play edge rusher.
Oh yeah. I mean, look. I mean the rush he had against Bo Nix on that controversial non-fumble was that's just a beautiful rep by him.
Just a good football player.
It is. And before we get to break, I will say it is kind of crazy that last season ends in the Super Bowl with a historically great defensive performance. Uncle Vic tells Zach Bond at that point, like, Zach Bond in the mic'd up afterwards, he goes to Uncle Vic. He's like, man, you didn't blitz at all. It was pretty crazy. And Vic just tells him, he's like, we didn't need to, right? Yeah. So clearly they need to this year. And I know last season, the overarching story about the Eagles' dominant defense last season was the back seven, right? And just how well they passed off routes, how well the linebackers played, Zach Bond's maturation, Quinyon Mitchell getting better and better as the season goes along, Coop getting put in the middle of the season and really turning things around and allowing them to play nickel against a lot of run-heavy formations. That said, we got left off with one of the most dominant games.
Yeah, it kind of
four-man pass rush.
It kind of papered over the fact that like midway through the season, toward the back half of the season, there were legitimate questions about if the Eagles pass rush was good enough for them to win a Super Bowl.
Oh, I mean, at this point in September last year, I remember watching that Monday night game against Atlanta. I was like, oh my Lord, like they're never going to get to the quarterback at all. They made Kirk Cousins look amazing. So look, you can work around this a little bit, but they had the differences last year, even though they struggled early on, like Milton Williams was here.
Yeah.
Josh Sweat was here. Jalen Carter was healthy and playing too. So a little bit of a different calculus now. It is the situation that the Eagles are in. Okay. Now, as EJ mentioned, they're probably going to have to make a move at midseason, and we are going to talk about some of the potential players that they could acquire, and that will be a way to sort of jump into what are these guys going to do over the mini bye? Like what are the main things that EJ and I would change? What are the biggest areas of need for the Eagles to address? And we will get to those after hearing from a few of our friends. And guys, it is cozy season. Holiday steals, they are here at Ashley Furniture. It's the perfect time to get your home ready for the holiday season, whatever you celebrate, and save big. And Ashley has stunning dining sets for all of your holiday feasts to super cozy sectionals, perfect for movie nights. Ashley has everything that you need to make this season magical.
So Bo Wolf invited me over his house the other day. And his setup, total mess. We were excited to watch the Sunday football games. This guy has me over. And let me tell you guys, there was lagging, buffering, switching between apps and trying to find the game. He claims he's a big fan. He's brought up a lot of people and their setups. I feel like I got fan fished. If you call yourself a football fan, and you have to have Xfinity. It's the ultimate sports destination, and I can find the best games and my favorite teams all in one place. And the way I watch, next level. It's a perfect fan flex. I've got all the action in my living room, plus Xfinity's best picture and sound with enhanced 4K, so clear, it feels like I'm in the stadium. Sometimes I've got 4 games going at once because why not? On top of that, I get real-time notifications and live stats right on my TV. It's the best seat in the house every time. Next game day, make sure that big fan isn't a big fail. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Restrictions apply. Multi-view requires Xfinity 4-capable TV box.
Hate to hear that about Bo's setup, but if the Wi-Fi is down, he could at least have some good furniture. And it is cozy season, guys. The more you shop, the more you save. And with up to 25% off store-wide, Ashley Furniture will be the ones that will take care of you before the holiday season. Or you can take advantage of Ashley's special financing with 5 years of no interest. Guys, it's Ashley Furniture. Discover great deals both in store and online only at Ashley. Cozy season.
Is it cozy season? It actually is cozy season. I like a cozy season.
Well, you're not cozy right now?
No, I do kind of wish you went with the hoodie. I didn't know if my hoodie was dressy enough for the show, so I skipped it.
I mean, do you not have the show dress code down? I think you can kind of wear whatever you want.
I mean, I'm still the new guy, so like,
are you looking at what Bo and Fran are wearing every day and saying
I'm not like taking an actual note of it, but just like the general feel. Not to like put Fran's business out here, but sometimes he'll wear like a, I mean, I won't name the brand, but he'll wear like really comfy like workout shorts because we're under the desk.
Well,
it doesn't matter.
He's got to show off the thighs.
Exactly, and I mean, if I had those thighs, I would too.
Absolutely.
But I've been taking note of that. Like my pants, they don't really matter. I mean, I'm gonna wear pants, but like, yeah, but they're not the dressiest pants in the world.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's good. Well, I mean, I remember when so my dad used to be on Daily News Live,
Of course.
a lot, Flex, yeah,
Shout
or
out to
whatever.
Rich Senior.
But anyway, those guys had to wear suits and dress shirts, and a lot of guys that you used to work with at the Inquirer,
Yeah.
as well. And my dad, at some point, like 5 or 6 years in, he
Yeah.
told me, he's like, "Yeah, man, everybody's just wearing shorts underneath the desk." Yeah, they actually got mad at Comcast Sportsnet and the Daily News when they went to a set where the desk was not blocking their pants. They were like, "Oh man, I got to wear real pants."
Like I got to buy more pairs of pants now.
No, I'm dressed, 9 to 5 up here, and I'm wearing gym shorts.
Yeah,
below,
it's like the mullet of like sports reporter wardrobes. It's like business up top, party on the bottom.
Look, whenever I'm hosting the show with you, which I love doing, by the way, if you just want to drop a text like, "Hey, is this casual Monday? Or are we dressing? Dressing up a little bit?" I'd be happy to let you know. Love coordinating before going to an event with my guys, and you're one of them. So
yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay, some good closed talk there. Welcome back to the PHLY Eagles show, presented by Bet365 and Ashley Furniture. Okay, EJ, so we did talk about how the Eagles, look, they're going to need to address the edge rusher position, which is kind of crazy considering how bad the CB2 spot is.
Yeah.
And it's just like how dire that looks. And I agree. I think you talked about it on the, I guess it was on the Friday show. Like,
yeah.
Look, I think you have to address the edge rusher first and then just try to figure that one out later. Don't feel good about that by any means. So if you look back at Howie Roseman's past trade deadline history, look, Howie Roseman, one of the best GMs working in sports.
Yeah.
That's a checkered history. The in-season trades, look, there have been a few that have completely paid off. I think the big one, Jay Ajayi, that was a great trade for that team. But some other ones that you look back and you're like, oh yeah, that wasn't great. And if you look at the edge rusher position, if you can remind me if there are any other ones that I'm thinking of, but the two names that come to mind right away are Jannard Avery, who
yes,
that was really bad. Like he just like
that's in the Tank Bigsby of Howie Roseman trade. That's the Tank Bigsby tier of Howie Roseman trades right there.
You never go full Bigsby, and he did it twice. Yeah, no, look, I think that's a lesson that Howie Roseman, like as good as he is, like he has some whiffs as well. And I think part of what makes Howie Roseman really good is that he continues to stay aggressive and understands that not every move is going to work out. But yeah, the Jannard Avery one, that was not great. And the other one that I'm thinking of is Robert Quinn a couple years ago as well. So if they do dip into the edge rusher pool, I hope it's a little bit better than that. So let me ask you a question, because we were gonna talk about what the biggest fixes were for the Eagles, like what we thought were the biggest areas of need. What are the things that we think specifically they need to improve at? And both of us, even before Zadarius Smith rolled out of bed and said, "I'm done," both of us had on our list, like they need to find an edge rusher at the trade deadline. And when you look at Howie Roseman, when you look at the offensive side of the ball, I view it as that's a coaching thing. Like, look, Howie Roseman can look at that and he can go to Nick Sirianni, he can go to Kevin Patullo, he can go to Jalen Hurts, whatever the collective is, because I know it's not that simple. And Jalen Hurts is gonna the offense is gonna look how Jalen Hurts wants it to look. I'll take a drink every time I hear that. But they can look at the offense or Howie can look at the offense and say, look, you guys got to figure it out. Like there's continuity here, there's high priced players, there's talent all over the place. It should not look this bad. I think when he is looking at this roster and the personnel, he's got to look at the defense and say, that is where I come into play. And I think the big name, we kind of split up the names that the Eagles should trade for. I took the more obvious one. EJ takes a more detailed look at the entire league. For me, is Trey Hendrickson. And I guess my first question is, water gun to your head, what does Trey Hendrickson go for at the deadline?
It's a good question. I would have said a day 2 pick, probably. I mean, for the last couple of weeks, I would have said a day 2 pick. Probably a second, maybe an early, a team that you would expect to have an early third, maybe could do that with a player attached to it. To me, like the arms race for a pass rush, I think is going to be an interesting thing to watch over the next couple of weeks as we approach the trade deadline. I think, there's been even some reporting nationally about like, there's going to be a real push from other teams that feel like this is a season in which they're going to contend, that are going to push for edge rush. They're going to push for, pass rushers in general. So could it move up to a 1? I probably wouldn't go that far, but I still think a second rounder is probably the ballpark for a player like Trey Hendrickson.
So who are the other teams that you think are going to be involved? I think I've read San Francisco, Tampa
San
Bay.
Fran, Tampa Bay, I think are good ones. I mean, obviously Green Bay already made their trade. I think Buffalo would be an interesting one. If you're the Steelers, you probably don't really. You think the Steelers review themselves as in the market for a pass rusher? I feel like they're pretty well stocked in terms of pass rush, especially on the edge.
They're 4-1, right?
Yeah, no, they're 4-1.
They're,
but like
they're right on pace to have a little dip at the end of the season and get their nice 9-8 year.
Chargers and I mean the Colts even. Like I mean, if you're the Colts, are you just like let's push some chips into the middle of the table here? So I think that exactly who it's going to be will be to be determined, but I think there are at least a few like surprise contenders. I mean, even the Patriots are 4-2. There are a few surprise contenders there that are like, yeah, you could see a team like really pushing to get an edge rusher at the deadline.
So Trey Hendrickson, 30 years old. I believe he came to a 1-year agreement with the Bengals after long holdout. Yeah. So obviously like older player now at a position that ages pretty well. He's playing on just an awful defense right now. So I might just throw away whatever you're seeing from him this year.
Yeah.
And look, is like a very, am I wrong that the book on Trey Hendrickson, besides all the sacks that he had last year, is that he is a high energy sort of player?
Yeah, he honestly is very similar to Nolan Smith and like some of the things you'll get from him. You'll get effort on early downs. You'll just get like relentless motor on pass rushing situations, and he has been productive. I think he had 18.5 sacks last season. He is a guy that you can put in like I want to continue to separate the edge rusher conversation. Like they could use a guy that just gives them snaps. I think that they need probably two guys at this position, but Trey Hendrickson, it probably like headlines the list of potential difference makers that you could add at that position.
That's nice. Yeah. Little Phillies bullpen parallels at the trade deadline, right?
That's a good one. Yeah.
You need the Duran, but you also need the David Robertson as well too. And by the way, you need to do it better than they pitched.
This is why this is best newsletter in the city right here. And this is why.
Yeah, give me a subscription. It's in the comments every time. It's free. Please subscribe. Yeah, I got some.
Because that was a really good like on the fly comparison right there. I wasn't coming up with that because I do think edge rushers and the bullpen, there are some parallels there. You know, it's a like lower strings attached position at the trade deadline that you can add, but makes a huge impact.
Yeah, definitely. And the other benefit for Trey Hendrickson as well is that he'll get to learn the tricks of the trade from Fred Johnson, who completely shut him down last year.
I think Fred Johnson, if I recall, he got Trey Hendrickson's jersey after that game. So a little synergy, which is the opposite of some of the guys that I'm going to bring to the table here. There's not necessarily great synergy between existing members of the Eagles coaching staff and these two guys, but we're going to throw them out anyway.
Well, that sounds like Miami Dolphins to me.
Yes. So Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb. I think, Jalen Phillips. No, Jalen Phillips has not been a Pro Bowler. Bradley Chubb, 2-time Pro Bowler. There's going to be a trend with some of the guys I bring up because the other one I want to bring up is New York Jets edge rusher Jermaine Johnson, who I just really liked coming out of the draft. Jermaine Johnson and Bradley Chubb both coming off of pretty serious injuries. Bradley Chubb had a torn ACL last year. Jermaine Johnson had a ruptured Achilles last season. If you're looking at like production this season, Bradley Chubb has done better. He has 4 sacks so far this year. So he's an intriguing one. Again, like the Vic Fangio connection. Like I hear so many people talking about like when the Dolphins fire Mike McDaniel, could the Eagles hire him as an OC? Like you got to remember, like the Vic Fangio's experience with Miami with that 1 year did not seem to go great.
Not great.
So I think that is an important thing to keep in mind with all these guys. But at the same time, like, I mean, we saw the Eagles hire Matt Patricia when Darius Slay was already in the building. I think that those things can be overstated. So, I think both of those Dolphins edge rushers would represent upgrades and would be maybe a little bit cheaper than Trey Hendrickson, especially Bradley Chubb coming off of the injury. Jalen Phillips just hasn't been as productive as Bradley Chubb this season. He's only got 1 sack so far this year.
So I know that Vic Fangio is hard to play for some players, and the Dolphins, they didn't look great with complaining about Vic's methods, especially when Vic goes to Philadelphia and basically wins a Super Bowl on the back of his coaching. I do kind of wonder if Vic like doesn't even remember that era. Like he's just like, oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it was weird to hear. Whatever. Yeah. I don't even like who Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb. Yeah, I might have 3 conversations.
He doesn't seem to care very much about edge rushers. So yeah, he might be like, who? just
get me a body in here that can play. Okay, Jermaine Johnson, the Jets clearly going to be sellers at the trade deadline. By the way, I was rooting really hard to make the joke after the game ended yesterday. So the Broncos played the Jets in London early yesterday, and it was like a complete slog. And the Jets were winning into the fourth quarter. I think they were up 11-10. It was an absolutely gross game. And I was waiting to make the joke that Sean Payton should drive his bus through central London after a loss to the Jets. But unfortunately, that Broncos defense is very good. Justin Fields is that's a tough watch, I got to say.
Yeah, I was like, I have a toxic relationship with Justin Fields as a quarterback.
Do tell.
I believe in him. I watch him struggle.
You still believe in him?
I'm not going to give up at this point. Again, another one where it's like, what's the point? And I think the listeners of the show will know that I'm not always so like stubborn about takes. Like, you know, I threw the towel in on the Eagles condensed formations early. You know, like there are certain things I will concede are just, it's time to give it up. And maybe it is time to give it up with Justin Fields, but he's exactly the type of quarterback that I am in the tank for. Like traitsy, like, you know, just a guy that you like, he needs to learn the process of the game, but like, that's what the coaches are for to me. So
I've never seen so many missed throws on out routes. He was throwing back shoulders on out routes, which is bad because that's where the defender is on out routes.
I do think that like his confidence is shot and it's probably time for me to give it up, but somebody can fix him. I just feel like somebody will fix him and I'm not ready to give up.
He seems like a pretty good dude. I thought he handled his benching last year in Pittsburgh pretty well, even though the team was playing pretty well.
Yeah, and he's just doing what terrible situations. Like I understand, like he's now been in like 4 different situations, and it's like at some point it's just him. But I don't know. He's just like again. I know it's irrational. It's just that's my type of quarterback. I don't know.
So again, for the second time, water gun to your head. Do you think 1 trade or 2 trades for an edge rusher for the Eagles?
I think probably 1 trade, and then 1 free agent signing. And could it be Brandon Graham? Possibly, but that's not a PHLY reporting. It's like just my own speculation here. I think that they need somebody, whether it is a Brandon Graham type or just somebody else. They need to add another just rotational piece to that group.
I would agree with you. How's BG's arm doing? Is that
I mean, I'm less concerned about the triceps and more like he looks like he's lost a lot of weight.
That's what most football players do, right?
Right. So, I mean, you see him in those rompers. Well, they're not rompers. They are just like sets. They look like rompers. And like, I don't know, most defensive linemen.
For Monday, next time we pod?
I've been telling Bo that he needs to get one of those. Yeah, Bo needs to he should just go straight romper. It shouldn't even be a set.
Imagine what France thighs would look like in the romper too. Ooh.
Now we're talking. But yeah, I mean, he does. Most defensive linemen, if they were wearing that type of stuff, it wouldn't look as good as BG's. BG is pulling it off better than most defensive linemen.
I would agree with that. BG is the man. I think that's probably far-fetched that they're able to get him. I don't know. I'm not in BG's head. Obviously, listen to the show every week. Love having him as a teammate. But man, I mean, what a great story to end on. You know, winning the Super Bowl. And
no, I said this last week, right? It's like he rode off into the sunset, and now he's going to drive back from the sunset. I don't know. It's a tough one, but I think it's like a fair discussion at the very
least. Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, look, it's the same discussion that we were having with Jahad Campbell being the edge rusher. Like, look, it's a dire situation right now. I think all options have to be on the table. And I think if you're the Eagles, especially, I think you would definitely have to call.
Yeah, you make the call. For
Brandon Graham, for sure. Okay, that was sort of the edge rusher discussion.
Yeah, we got one of our resolutions out of the way, I think.
After the break, we're going to talk a lot more about the offense and what we want to see, which is more kind of scheme-based, player-based. I think they have the ingredients there to be better than what we have seen so far. It has not been great. It certainly was not great again at MetLife Stadium, which is a house of horrors, even if the Eagles sometimes win by a lot there. I just never like playing there. Okay, and we will talk about that after hearing from a few more of our friends. And guys, whether you need snapbacks, truckers, fitteds, or tees, Branded Bills has you covered with performance and style. These are high quality hats from Branded Bills. And one of the cool things that Branded Bills does, guys, if you're looking for some custom gear to make your brand stand apart from the crowd. That could be, a work outing. That could be your business. That could just be something that you have, you have a golf outing with your friends. Branded Bills has you covered with the best custom headwear. They will work with you to make your hats stand out. And start your order, and their dedicated team will help you create the exact custom apparel that you need. And they also, look, it's not a great time for Penn State right now. They just fired the coach. That was the definition of boy. That escalated quickly with James Franklin just on College game day with the number 3 team like 3 weeks ago. But anyway, they have a partnership with Penn State as part of their great campus collection. Take a look at all the schools on there. They probably have yours to help you stand out from the crowd. So head on over to brandedbills.com and use code BBPHLY for 15% off your first order.
Next, we're going to talk about Monarch Money. Feel organized and confident in your finances with Monarch Money, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean interface on your laptop or phone. I switched jobs recently and wanted to make sure my past retirement accounts weren't going to just sit idly by. Monarch Money has been perfect to keep an eye on all my finances in one place. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Don't leave money on the table. When you're making good money, it's easy to get complacent. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code PHLY at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off of your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code PHLY.
And welcome back to the PHLY Eagles show, presented by Bet365 and Ashley Furniture. All right, EJ, let's start talking offense.
Hold on, I gotta address one thing in the chat.
Let's do it.
Provolone John, I appreciate the suggestion. I do. I like the idea of a PHLY Eagles podcast after dark. I'm not sure if my Julia would like that as much as I would, but we can't be calling our Julia not EJ's Julia, because I also have an appreciation for our Julia, and she's the original. She's the original Julia. So OJ, no, OJ doesn't really work, does it?
No.
All right. Our Julia. That's also OJ.
We're not talking orange juice either. No.
Double OJ, baby.
The juice, baby. No, don't put that on Julia right there. Don't.
Yeah. But a good suggestion. I like a PHLY Eagles podcast after dark.
I have so many jokes in my head that would get me fired right now. And let's move on to the offense. The juice, man.
It's not even Tuesday yet. Tomorrow's show. This is a bad sign for the week.
Already a loopy Monday. Okay, EJ, let's get it together.
All right.
Give me your number one fix that you were looking for on the offensive side of the ball.
My number one fix for the Eagles offense is to start prioritizing the run pass option and play action game. If you look at, and Julia, I think we have a graphic up or a graphic about Jalen Hurts' play action numbers, because at least for, most tracking sites don't delineate between play action and run pass options. I know some of the fancier ones do, but
sure.
For our access, I'm just going to go off of play action. So if you look at his play action drop back percentage over the last 4 seasons, it's steadily declined, which I find interesting, because if you look at that 2022 season, it was up to 31.1% play action dropbacks. Obviously, that was an MVP caliber season for Jalen Hurts. And if you look at last season, he was completing 73% of his passes. That's even up this year to 75%. The yards per attempt is a glaring difference. He was at 9.3 yards per attempt in 2024. He's down to 5.9 this season, and his EPA per dropback has dropped significantly as well. But really, the usage, again, the steady decline in play action dropbacks for Jalen Hurts. I mean, the first 4 games of the season, you could talk me into okay, this is going to be more of a passing offense that relies on Jalen Hurts seeing things and diagnosing things. But really, the first thing you'll hear from a lot of offensive coaches is how much the play action game can open things up for a quarterback, how it can give them easy answers. And we've been looking at an Eagles offense devoid of answers for most of this season, especially the last 2 games. I think that they need to simplify things for Jalen Hurts. And I'm going to save the other part of my RPO argument for my second resolution, but let's just say that I think it could also be a little bit of an identity for the Eagles offense, especially on early downs in lieu of a running game. So I think it really has a multifaceted benefit. I kind of went into the season thinking, okay, like RPOs aren't really as in vogue or across the league as you would think, but I watch the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football, and they run plenty of RPOs. You know, they do give Patrick Mahomes some of those easier, those easier throws and easier decisions. And I think when you look at the Eagles offense, it's hard to argue that they couldn't utilize that part of their system more often. And again, it's something we've seen them do in the past.
Yeah, and I remember we were sitting next to each other in the press box for Flex for the Broncos game. And
Speaking of Broncos, sorry,
there was a great tweet. I'm gonna bungle it, but I believe OJ Howard was taken after Garrett Bowles, who was a white Bronco, or whatever.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, that's all.
I used to drive a Bronco.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We shouldn't talk about this anymore. We're gonna get ourselves in trouble.
Was this before you knew the last 30 years of the white Bronco?
Oh, I was aware of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't drive a white Bronco though.
I wasn't a white Bronco.
It wasn't a white Bronco.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, you're good. I mean, a white Bronco would have been fine too. You just,
would have been funny.
Let's move on. So you mentioned we talked about the RPOs in that game though, and I thought Daniz made a great point on his appearance the week after, where it was like, yeah, why did you just bring the RPO part of the playbook? Why did you bring that chapter for this one? So yeah, finding a way to mix in those RPOs. Obviously, that 2022 season, Shane Steichen just continually pressed that button, and it felt like his sequencing was great. Has not been as good this season. Yeah. And I think your point too, in terms of trying to find a solution that is not simply just run the ball.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, whether it's these players have taken a step back, I think Brett Toth coming in for Landon Dickerson, until Landon Dickerson gets back, and he wasn't even playing to his normal standard, I think clearly because of the injury early on. That sort of ties into, you came with a very specific suggestion, EJ. I think they do. My general suggestion is, okay, yeah, it's not run the ball as much as last year, but it has to be a little bit better than what we've seen. So last year, that is elite level run game. You've got to take this from average or whatever it is. I know in success rate and EPA, they actually are above average in the run game. I don't know how much the tush push factors into some of those stats.
Yeah.
But, when you look at Saquon Barkley's like yards before contact in particular, I mean, it was a joke how much higher he was than everybody in the rest of the league last year. He was half a yard ahead of Jahmyr Gibbs in yards before contact. And Jahmyr Gibbs was number 2 overall. So, I actually thought, and I'm curious your thoughts on this because you were there. I thought Lane's comments after the game were very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, he talked about the Eagles offense being predictable and how it feels as if they are not keeping defenses on their toes, keeping them honest. Talked about the fact that if you don't make defenses, keep them off balance, keep them guessing, that it can look the way that it's looked. And he suggested more outside runs, which I think was really interesting because there was that sequence against the Giants where on first and second down, it was almost identical inside zone runs with Saquon Barkley. And it's just everybody knew it was going to happen when the second that Jalen Hurts gave the ball to Saquon Barkley on that second down, it's okay, this is going to go. They're going 3 and out on this drive. So, it is crazy to think about this was one of the greatest run games in the history of the league the year before, and now you're watching Jalen Hurts hand it off to Saquon Barkley, and everybody knows that it's not going to go well. But it kind of is it shows the fragility of it all. The fragility of a run game that good, and it kind of informs how special last year's run game was. That it is you hear these guys say so often, it's so close, they're always one block away, and it's last year they were so consistent as a group that it does kind of again inform how special last year's group was. But no, I'm with you. I think that my second resolution, I'll give it to you now, was they need to be more creative on early downs. I think last year the run game afforded them the privilege of not needing to be creative on early downs. But I think this year, whether it is the RPO game, which again, it's you can kind of make defenses wrong no matter what if you run them well, or even if it is just as simple as they run, like switch it up, have more outside zones. The gap scheme runs are interesting to me. They run like noticeably fewer gap scheme runs than they did last year. And to
Are they
me,
less successful with those though?
to me, the thing about gap scheme runs is like, if your run game is not gonna, if your run game's not like your stay on schedule answer anyway, I like the gap scheme runs better because they do have the potential to hit for more. Like, the explosive runs that you saw the Eagles get, a lot of those did come off of gap scheme runs where you have guys going downhill, guys pulling across the formation. I've seen them be so good with those before. And again, it's maybe not the success is like the success rate might not be as good, right? Like, you might not be getting 3 or 4 yards every single time. But like last year, they didn't always get 3 or 4 yards on those runs. It was about setting it up, kind of like trying to chase that explosive run. I think if they were less reliant on their run game to keep them on schedule, to be the identity especially on early downs when you're trying to stay ahead of the sticks, trying to stay out of 3rd and long. If you have the RPOs for that, you have the outside zone. I mean, the zone reads, we haven't seen Jalen Hurts as much as a runner, as much of a factor in the run game as
We saw
he
one
has.
of those the other night.
Right.
Didn't hit, but
Yeah.
yeah, we have. It has not been a big part of the game. And yeah, I mean, I think if you run more play action and RPOs like you're talking about, that might stop these linebackers from running downhill
Right.
and selling out to take away these Saquon Barkley attempts. So maybe it is as simple. It's not as simple as this, but a large part of the issue is, yeah, if you get your play action game down, then maybe Saquon has a few more yards to be able to hit some of these big plays. But yeah,
Right.
I thought Lane's quotes the other night, super revealing stuff. Like that is a grizzled vet. That is an all-time Philadelphia Eagle
Yes.
whose words carry a ton of weight in that locker room. I feel like he has sort of taken the mantle from his guy, Jason Peters, in that regard. And he said that the offense was too predictable. And I think it was informative. Like it sort of informed how much easier it was than last year because so Lane is talking about how it's too predictable. And I clearly agree. Now I can't give you the exact reasons why it's too predictable. There, we mentioned play action and RPO, and there are a bunch of different things that they can do. But last year, after that bye, Lane, I guess it was Landon and Mailata, they all sat down on Nick's couch. Nick's poor couch had to deal with 900 pounds of those guys.
That couch is very sunken in. I don't know if you remember the preseason hype video they did, like where Nick is in the couch and his feet are like 5 feet above his head because the couch is so far sunken in. So I think you're seeing the after effects of all those offensive linemen hanging out in there.
His feet are swinging like he's like a little kid. Even though he's a grown man.
Yeah.
That's just not offensive lineman size.
Yeah.
Yeah. But basically, they just said, run the ball. And look, I miss run the ball nation. I miss run the ball. But I think everybody understands that it's not as simple as just handing the ball to Saquon Barkley because they haven't been as good. And look, some of this is just the personnel. And I wonder if these guys are worn down from playing an extra month of football.
I can tell you that they are. Yeah. And it's not just the month of football that they played, but how much they ran the ball. I think to simplify it a little bit, like run blocking is harder than pass blocking. Like you're trying to move people at the point of attack. You've got guys, rolling up onto the back of your legs. You're on the ground more often. Like pass blocking is still difficult, but like run blocking is more physically demanding. Now, I think most offensive linemen would agree they prefer run blocking. They prefer to be aggressive, but that still does take its toll, and obviously, you look at Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson both had offseason surgery. And I remember I talked to Jordan Mailata about it a couple weeks ago. He said that they all really brought last season into OTAs and beyond. So I think you are seeing that attrition up front for them.
And look, the difference why run the ball was the answer was even as the Eagles struggled in those first 4 weeks, Saquon hit some huge runs in that first month. Had the huge game down in Brazil against Green Bay. I think it was a 59-yarder against New Orleans. He hit a 65-yarder against Tampa. I might have reversed those. But anyway, he hit 2 huge plays in those games. So there was some proof of concept like, okay, if we stick to this, I think this could actually be a more sustainable formula. And we also have a quote from Saquon Barkley. Is this from the other night?
Yeah, this is from after the game. And I just think it's interesting because they were predictable last season. I think it shows how like the privilege of having the best run game that we've seen in a long time, you can be predictable because you're just going to move people out of the way. But I thought it was interesting that like what he's calling for is like a more of an attack mindset. He said, I also think we've got to get back to the attitude, the mindset of not really giving a bleep what people are trying to do. That's something that I'm definitely looking for. And I found it interesting because we've heard the same thing from AJ Brown. Obviously AJ Brown has been frustrated for most of the season, but he said a lot of the same thing. He's probably talking more in the pass game. Saquon's talking in the run game, but to me, like that is also it goes back to like the gap scheme runs where it's like just push people around. Like let's be less reactive to like what the look is and just run at people. And I think they have the talent to do it.
Do you think people are sort of reacting to Saquon's quotes differently than they are to AJ's quotes?
I do. Yeah. I think and I like to a certain extent I understand it. AJ is clearly frustrated. And I think because of that, what AJ says often carries a lot of weight, both internally and externally. I can tell you that like when AJ speaks, the Eagles locker room listens. And like I know like most of the leaders that is true, but he knows that he can make waves. He's talked before about being willing to be the bad guy in the Eagles locker room, be the one to say the thing that makes people uncomfortable. So yeah, I do think that AJ, when he says things like that, it does create a reaction, especially externally. But it also, to be fair, like there is an internal reaction to stuff that AJ says as well. So I think Saquon is probably more of an internal reaction than an external because he doesn't have the history of being the bad guy, quote unquote.
It's funny just judging by the number of people at each of their lockers when they talk.
Yeah.
And look, Saquon obviously was like, best offensive player in football probably last year. The difference in the amount of cameras that are there as somebody who's holding up the phone for old PHLY Sports and the Eagles postgame show, it's hard to get into those AJ Brown scrums.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to hear what he's going to say. And, after a very frustrating start to the season, I feel like that the intensity and the focus on him is heightened. Okay. We probably have a few suggestions for what to do with the passing offense and AJ Brown as we get closer to overtime, but we're going to take one more ad break and then get back to you with that. All right, guys, listen up. There is a new name in town shaking up the snack game, and that is Righteous Felon Craft Jerky. These guys have been running a flavor racket for over a decade, slinging bold, rebellious, small batch meat snacks made with real ingredients and zero shortcuts. And today, we're talking meat sticks, four flavor pack sticks that go way beyond the usual gas station suspects. These are clean label snacks with real ingredients and zero filler, and each stick packs 8 to 9 grams of protein, just 1 gram of added sugar, and they are gluten-free, soy-free, and low sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't. Whether you're fueling up for a workout or just dodging boring snacks, these sticks have your back. And look, guys, we have some of the flavors in there. I don't know what EJ's favorite flavor is. I like the OG hickory, but they also have fiery habanero, lemon pepper turkey, street taco pork. They're all really great stuff. And you can grab all 4 of those flavors at righteousfelon.com and use code PHLY20 to get 20% off your first order. Or you can hit the streets. Their 2-ounce jerky bags are 2 for $10 at Wawa, and you'll find them at Giant, Royal Farms, and thousands of independent stores across the country. Righteous Felon, high protein, bold flavor, no BS.
Next, we're going to talk about Rothman Orthopedics. We've all been there trying to power through summer plans with a nagging injury or stubborn pain. But when rest isn't cutting it, it's time to call in the experts. That's why we trust Rothman Orthopedics. Whether you're running on the beach, swinging your golf clubs, or lifting the little ones for a pool day, Rothman specialists are here to treat what's holding you back. Their top-tier care will have you moving and enjoying every minute of summer and fall. Patients will find the full spectrum of orthopedic care at Rothman Orthopedics. From diagnosis to discharge, they provide their patients with every service and procedure necessary, such as x-rays, orthotics, bracing, MRIs, physical therapy, and more. Year over year, Rothman consistently performs among the highest volume of hip, knee, shoulder, and ankle replacements in the country, over 60,000. If pain is slowing you down this season, take the first step. Head to rothmanortho.com/PHLY and schedule your appointment today. Rothman Orthopedics, your summer, your mobility, their mission.
And welcome back to the PHLY Eagles Show presented by Bet365 and Ashley. EJ, this is, I'm moving a little bit off topic before we get into the passing game sort of suggestions. This is a more open-ended question. I know you did talk on the post-game show and the following day as well. What did you think of Jalen Hurts' game the other night?
I think the last 2 weeks have really shown like the it's been a regression in terms of like diagnosis, seeing things, making quick decisions with the ball, making the right decisions with the ball. I thought that the interception against the Giants was really like a microcosm of that. And like, I understand, like, Fran did such a great job breaking it down. Like, and I understand why Jalen made the decision he made. And I think like the accuracy on the throw, or the lack thereof, the ball placement on that throw was really costly, as
It's
was,
a Justin Fields ball.
yeah, honestly, it was. As was like the fact that he wasn't able to like diagnose and recognize the fact that what he saw pre-snap was not what he was seeing post-snap. And I think like of all the things that do concern me about the Eagles offense, and especially the pass game, like the evolution of the way that defenses are playing them, I think we've seen like the prolonged uh like reaction to the action to the reaction from the Eagles offense, in the sense of like, for years it was just blitz Jalen. That was all, like that was the template that you'd see from defenses. Send extra rushers. They're not going to be able to sort it out. That's evolved now to sim pressures. Like, how about instead of sending 5 or 6 or 7 rushers, because the Eagles have gotten better with that. Now it is send 4, but you don't know where they're coming from, and then you flood the zone on the back end. And if the Eagles are going to have a bunch of guys staying in for protection, like, you're not going to have open receivers. They don't have like, elaborate route concepts that get guys open in space. So I think that's a real thing that they will have to look at for the mini buy. And that is honestly my third resolution, is to like be more creative, be more effective against crowded zone coverages. And I think that starts with empty formations.
They were good in empty the other day.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And we've seen flashes, and like my favorite thing about empty with a mobile quarterback is you still have the component of a run game. Like you still have, and especially like if Saquon Barkley's in the field, you're one half-hearted Eagles motion away from being able to run his own read out of it anyway. But like the quarterback draw out of empty has been effective for them in the past. They have the players, the personnel with the offensive line to be a team that majors in it. They're kind of middle of the road in terms of frequency this year. I think that they could bump that up, and that could be an answer against some of those looks that they're seeing.
Yeah, I thought Fran's point too about leaving a couple guys in the block, like 7 against 3 on the back end. That's hard, and I think you're going to need AJ Brown and Devontae Smith to be superhuman. I mean, look, they're capable of it for sure, but that's why empty. Yeah, I mean, it's a tougher assignment for the defense to cover.
And this is where it's like, this is why this is like, there's layers to this, because not only like do they need to be more creative schematically, but like at the end of the day, like you asked me about Jalen Hurts' performance against the Giants, like he has to be better. It is really that simple. It can be that simple as saying like, if Jalen plays at a higher level, a lot of these schematic things aren't as big of talking points. Like, he as an extender of plays and a scrambler this year has not been as effective as he has been in the past. And like, you would like to see him like extend to throw downfield, extend to take shots. The Eagles scramble drills this year have been really, really bad. And like
a little better last week.
Yeah, but that still to me is like, A, you can't build a whole offense out of scramble drills, first and foremost. But B, like if Jalen is going to have 3, 4, 5 seconds to throw, like that is like, we talk about the lack of pressure for the Eagles defense and how that has ripple effects throughout the rest of the group. Like that's the inverse with the Eagles offense. It's like, if you've got 5 seconds to throw, you're extending a play, you're rolling out, you should be able to rip off explosives out of those looks every once in a while.
Totally. So I'm going to take maybe a little bit of an unpopular opinion. I thought the game on Thursday was a little better than some people are making it out to think. I thought the fact that they responded with the 2 touchdown drives, he was sharp out of empty, hit a couple scramble drills as well. He made the 2 uncharacteristic killer plays, and that's the deep ball to Devontae. Just, you got to hit that throw. Yeah. And then also, like you said, I mean, that was a misdiagnosis on the Jahan Dotson out pass that turned into an interception. If he reads AJ, that's probably an easy touchdown for him to lay out there.
Yeah.
But it's uncharacteristic for him to mess up those plays. Like, they've been very efficient in terms of scoring touchdowns in the red zone this year.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still, again, against a bad Giants defense. And look, I understand that the fact that they're not scoring any points after halftime is really bad right now.
Yeah.
And that is on everybody. It's on the coaches not making adjustments. It's on, the players not executing all of that stuff. It speaks poorly to the entire team. Yeah. I saw some actual positives in that game from Jalen Hurts. Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you. Like the deep ball, like the miscue to Devontae is like, that is just not that's not something we've seen from Jalen very much in his career. Like he is very good on those throws. I think he just missed on that one.
It's rare, right? He's got great touch on those. And that obviously, like, He didn't misread that one as well. And like, look, some of this is that everything is going wrong for the Eagles right now. Jalen Hurts made the absolute right read, and AJ Brown stopped running the week before as well. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things. The one thing I would say, just in terms of like a specific area to adjust, they need to, you know what? Why don't we actually, as Julia points out here, as
She went from lowercase to all caps.
all
Like,
caps.
let's come on now.
Don't call her OJ. Okay. We will be right back after a break, and we will talk to you in overtime. So my fix, EJ, is just they got to get AJ Brown in the middle of the field more. And
Yeah.
that's middle of the field, but also the intermediate routes as well. He only has 8 targets in that 10 to 19 yard area. He's got 5 catches for 82 yards. It's clearly been his most efficient spot of the year. Again, it's too super small sample size, but we're talking about a guy who, even last year in the Eagles' run-heavy offense, was second in the entire league in yards per route run.
Right.
It's the complete opposite this year. This is an inefficient A.J. Brown season. Some weeks he is getting targeted, and I think they need to diversify it, right? And this has been, look, this is not a new talking point. This has been something that in week 2 people were talking about. He's just running slants and these ends, or he's running deep or whatever. They got to diversify it, whether that's through the RPO game, whether that's through the play action game. Get him on a dig, get him on some other stuff. But, A.J. Brown, this has been a nightmarish start to the season for him. I cannot believe we're at where we're at right now. One of the best ways to maybe rectify that situation is just get him the ball and start playing better as part of an efficient offense as well. So, yeah, they got to find a way to scheme him up. And I think that the best way is over the middle in that intermediate zone.
It's funny, like anecdotally, and last week you and I talked about the analogy of like you look at a keeper's in soccer, like you look at the goals the keeper does concedes to see if they are as good as you think they are, because like you might see, okay, like most of the goals this guy gives up are just like absolute world-class shots, right? Like you can kind of tell more from the goals allowed than the saves.
Yep.
I feel like with a wide receiver. And again, I want to go back and watch AJ's catches this year. I feel like you can kind of judge, because I know that there's a conversation about, is AJ the same player? It's like, if you watch his catches, I feel like you look at him and go, okay, this guy's making a ton of contested catches. And I guess that could lead to a question about is he not gaining as much separation? To me, I'd say it's hard to gain separation when you run 3 different routes, and AJ's never really been the type that runs really crisp routes. He's not like Devontae, but he's explosive. And again, I think it's inherently more difficult if it's you run slants, you run goes, and that's pretty much it. You don't run very many crossers. You maybe run the 12-yard stop route a few times. And the stutter and go, that's really his menu. I think that they need to diversify it. I think that he still is a good enough player that he is what he says he is. He can be the driving force for an offense. He can put a stamp on him being the best receiver in football. I know it's really far from that right now, but I still think if featured more often in this Eagles offense, I think that is on the table. And I think that he is part of the answer on how you get this thing fixed for sure.
Definitely. I mean, you cannot tell me that AJ Brown, especially we saw it in the second half against the Rams. How many players in the NFL are capable of completely taking over a game?
Yeah, I mean,
over
even against the Giants,
3-drive span.
If you look at some of the catches he had against the Giants, some of these catches he makes are unbelievable.
The one on the sideline.
Yeah, great. It's just there's what? Honestly, there's maybe one other guy in the league that can make that catch. So he still has that ability. It's just a matter of leveraging it more often. And that's where watching games on Sunday, I'm going to watch games tonight, and it's just man, you see how other teams feature their star receiver. You see Puka Nakua's heat map after 6 games, and it's man, and the Devontae, the Puka Nakua thing is more of a Devontae thing to me, but
for sure.
Still, it's just that's where I like how the Eagles get creative in the red zone sometimes, but if you're using your creativity bandwidth there and not on how are we going to scheme these guys open, it's you're kind of doing your offense a disservice.
I like Patullo in the red zone. Little early Andy, that little shovel pass. As Fran said, maybe run that to AJ next time.
Yeah, just get him a touch. Yeah, but that's the mentality you have to have, right? It's
for the entire field.
Yeah, and I've heard from AJ before, and maybe this is self-serving from his standpoint, but he wants to get involved early. He's one of those players that needs to get in that rhythm early, and the Eagles offense has lacked rhythm so much. It is you should have the mindset I need to get this guy a touch, even if it's not my favorite play on the on the whiteboard, or it's not at the top of my script. I think AJ Brown's inclusion, it should always be part of the script.
It is funny that the Eagles fans, like you mentioned, a lot of my friends text me that, yeah, you saw
Yeah, I
what
see you. I see
you
your
saw what I
computer
put on my
screen.
computer. I wanted to make sure I got the meme right, but basically, Eagles fans, they're like, man, do you see all these games on Red Zone? Do you
Yeah.
see how they get these receivers open? And they feel like the meme of Squidward watching SpongeBob and Patrick having fun outside. Meanwhile, there's like a Super Bowl trophy like in the background where
Yeah.
they're like, why can't we have these nice things? It's like you have a Super Bowl trophy right here.
Yeah.
But I understand it because yeah, when you watch how creative some of these other offenses are, you're just not getting that
Yeah.
from the Eagles right now. Okay, we spent a lot of time on like 3 or 4 of these. I'll just add one that I have as a suggestion. Stick to the second cornerback and just keep him there. You know, I think
Cornerback, not quarterback, right?
cornerback.
Okay, just
Yeah.
making sure we're not saying it's Tanner time.
No. Stick to CB2 and just keep him out there. I don't know who the answer is. I mean, I feel like Adoree Jackson played better
than that way.
than Keeley the other game. It felt like there was a little momentum for Keeley into this week. I mean, Keeley was a disaster the other night.
Yeah, to me, it's like if you told me that the Eagles were in the divisional round of the playoffs against like the Los Angeles Rams or something, who would I rather have out there? Like, to me, it's like Keely Ringo is the one that you would say like he might give up like 15 catches for 250 yards. Adoree, you're like he's gonna give up. I'm confident that like Adoree's gonna give up like 8 catches for like 105 yards, and you're just gonna have to live with it.
That's better for 15, 20.
Yeah, like Keely's the more volatile answer, and maybe you could talk yourself into him growing into the role. I think that there's still room for that to happen, but yeah, I think that Adoree played better than Keely against the Giants, and like the thing that is interesting about that is it's kind of like the best evaluation tool we've had of them since training camp because it's
they're
like
both on the field.
you guys are both on the field, same situation, same everything. Like, let's see who looks better, and I think Adoree looking better is significant there. So yeah, I don't feel great about it, but I sort of lean that way. The only thing that is just like pinging around the back of my head, especially after Zadarius Smith literally just retires midseason, is like some of those turndowns from Adoree are really tough. And like I just
one
wonder,
on the goal line was bad, man.
yeah, it's like I don't know. It's I saw like LaShawn McCoy suggested that Adoree just retire, so I think that's why that
shady. He might have to be. He might have to start and play every snap, man. There's just not a lot of good options back there.
But again, like in terms of like volatility and like, can you just like trust in him not to lose you the game? I think Adoree is probably slightly ahead.
I would agree with that. Yeah, it felt like he gave up a few contested catches where the coverage was okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think you're probably right about that. Also, you mentioned Adoree turning down the contact around the goal line. Keely Ringo not touching the guy down on the one play. That's just a guy whose head is not in the football.
Yeah, it's chaotic, right? Like that's like it's like in line with that. It's like you give up the catch and you just you don't like think like I gotta just put a hand on that guy. So I can give you my last resolution really quickly if you want. It's sarcastic. Let Cam Latu return some kicks. I want to see it. I want to see something.
Little bowling ball.
Yeah, he's doing everything else so well except for blocking. It was Abdul Carter on the split zone. I was so worried. I watched that on film and I'm like, oh, Fran's gonna kill Cam Latu for this. And he was actually pretty nice to Cam Latu on that one, so I felt good.
It's a hard play to make. I know he made that great block on I believe it was Saquon's touchdown run against the Chiefs in week 2.
That's when he really got my attention.
Yeah.
Text Bo and Fran, Cam Latu, he's interesting, and they told me to settle down. Who's settling down now?
I think whether it's Cam Latu or Tank Bigsby knows like something goes off and the light goes off in his head. They got to figure out this field position game. I mean, they're just it's a huge part of the game now, and they are just at a deficit every single week.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's gonna have to get fixed. Like I don't have anything insightful to say about that. So maybe give Cam give him the shot. Okay, before we get out of here, we have 4 super chats, it looks like. First from Ed. How much does the offensive issues bleed into the defense from having to play more? I certainly felt like that was the case in the Broncos game.
As in, like, I'm trying to make sure I'm clear here. So this is saying the offense is affecting the way the defense is playing.
Just by tiring them out.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. That was my main argument with Bo when he was, ringing the alarm bells after the Broncos game. It's like, the Eagles offense has consistently put the defense in bad situations, like the Tampa game, especially like the amount of time that they were on the field. I think that does add up. And especially when you're thinking about their run game or their run defense, I think that stuff matters. Now, it doesn't absolve them, but yeah, I think you hear these guys talk a lot about complementary football. And like, I almost like hate saying it because of how much you hear it, but I think that is an example where they have not been playing complementary football.
No, and also some of the defense's best players have been out in recent weeks as well. And so that's just going to add on to, okay, you're tired, you're gassed, the offense is going 3 and out at a pretty high rate. And it's hard. So I'm not too worried about I'm worried about the pass rush. They're going to have to fix that. I'm assuming Howie is going to.
And that is less related to the amount of plays that they've played.
Yeah, exactly. The idea that they were like the Giants beat them physically the other night. Yeah. That's not good because the Eagles have been accustomed to being the more physical team. They were the more physical team all the way to winning a Super Bowl a season ago. But I think especially on defense, I think they can get some of that back. Especially you get Quinion back, you get Jalen Carter back. I mean, Nolan Smith too, one of the most physical players in the league as well. So I'm not as worried about that specific aspect of it. Okay, we have Brendan who said this.
It's got.
Can you explain that to me?
No.
Okay, this team be for real crazy. I am not a sandwich.
I got nothing.
Did you understand 100% of that?
I understood like 80% of it. I was thrown for a loop at the end because I let's be clear. I am also at least semi-washed. Like I know a little bit about the internet culture of 2025, but not enough to know what the sandwich reference is.
No, I feel 100 years old with that one. Assuming that's a young person.
Yeah,
lingo there. All right, from Dr. Prince Blue, EJ, is it sim pressure or simp pressure?
It depends on who you ask. I go sim pressure, but to each their own.
Good answer. Okay, moving on to CDP. Who breaks down the team after losses with BG gone?
It's a good question. I don't think the Eagles put out a video from the locker room after each of the last 2 losses, but if you ask me, I would guess
Jalen.
At times it would probably be Jalen, but after some losses, I mean, it's been reported before that Jalen hasn't always addressed the team. I think that's why BG being gone it makes it very interesting. I could see Saquon. I could see it being Saquon.
Saquon's the designated loser breakdown. I don't think I'd want that job.
Oh,
that's a high character gentleman.
He's done a lot with the Giants. So, no, I think that
those Giants fans online were they were having a field day with this documentary.
Years of suffering.
By the way, he still won the Super Bowl. It was still embarrassing what happened to you guys last year. Your franchise still stinks too.
I have a closing statement.
Okay.
I feel like I'm going to use my experience as an Aston Villa fan to inform how Eagles fans should possibly feel.
Interesting. It's
never as bad as you think it is in the moment. It's never as good as it feels like it is. So it's like when they won 4 straight, it wasn't as good as it seemed. I remember writing after that Tampa Bay game, they're an imperfect team with a perfect record and they have a lot of time to get this fixed, but they're really good. And then after 2 losses, it kind of does feel like the wheels are coming off in a way. But again, it's usually not as bad as you would expect it, as you feel like it is in the moment. I mean, they are probably a win against the Vikings, who are also a shaky team, away from at least going into this bye week feeling better. So I don't know. I think we just went through resolutions and pointed out that there's a lot wrong with the team, but I don't know. Watching the rest of the league on Sunday, it's like they got time to keep up with the actual heavyweights in the division and the conference. I mean, the division's its own thing in the conference and across the league. So, not saying I feel great about it, but I don't think it is as alarmist as maybe it has felt. Now that we've had the weekend to process all of it.
Totally. You watch the rest of the league, and yeah, sure. There are times when I'm Squidward watching the play design and being like, why can't the Eagles have these nice things? But you do see a lot of uneven, very beatable teams, far from perfection. Honestly, the team that's probably impressed me the most, as far as how they've played, has been Shane Steichen's Indianapolis Colts. They just seem pretty buttoned up, although that was a very close game.
And they feel like they could have a mid-season slump, though.
Well, they probably just don't have the talent.
Right. Yeah. But in the NFC, like, what team is like, oh man, like that's gonna be such a tough one. Like,
Well, and the
they
NFC is
literally
the
just
better
beat the
conference
Rams.
too.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Like the Rams look good, but the Eagles beat them already with all of the problems that we talked about. The Bucks, but again, the Eagles beat the Bucks.
Eagles
Like,
beat the Bucks.
yeah. So I don't know. The Green Bay hype. I still really do like Green Bay, but I guess what I'm saying is you could go through all these teams and you can't really pinpoint one where it's like, man, they really have their stuff together. I guess I could have. Of course, it's
You could have,
but
yeah, it's overtime.
but yeah, they got time to figure it out. That's what I would say.
Completely agree. Green Bay did not look very good yesterday as well. I mean, they had a great first couple weeks, but yeah, they've been very average, I would say, the past few weeks. So you mentioned Aston Villa. Let's close on this. Do you did you ever watch Sam Allardyce coach your team?
No, I
That's
will
the
never.
When you stink, you bring in Big Sam to avoid relegation.
Is he like the Steve Bruce like effect? Like it's just get the guy in and just like stem the tide.
But
Yeah.
like let's not
4-4-2,
let's not
pack
finish
it
in the
in.
bottom
Yeah.
three. Like let's
Yeah.
figure out how to play the next year.
Yeah, I want to be clear with everyone. I will never misrepresent my soccer fandom. I have been a fan for the last 3 or 4 years, and like I have gotten really into it, but like to the point where I do know some historical stuff. But I wasn't watching soccer 10 years ago, and I'm not ashamed of that.
All right, sounds good, man. It's a great time. How's the team doing this year?
They started really bad, and that's part of my rant about it's
There
never
you
as
go.
bad as it
It's
seems.
never as bad as it seems.
They're getting out of their funk. They've scored goals, which is good, and they're doing well in the Europa League. If they win the Europa League, I might actually cry. Which again, it's like I've only cared about the team for a few years, but you can ask my Julia. There's a real emotional connection to this team now for me. It's probably unhealthy.
Hey, buddy, it's good to feel something. You can't
Yes.
feel it with this team. You have to be the Stone Cold newsman
Yeah.
and cover these guys objectively. Okay, so I believe for the rest of the week we have tomorrow. It's you and Bo.
Yeah. We have a surprise guest on Thursday.
Ooh, what a tease that is. So Wednesday,
Julia's like, we do.
Julia's just figuring that out as well. So tomorrow, you and Bo. Wednesday, it's myself and Bo. We're really going with the different combinations this
I'm gonna
week
mix it up.
as well. Special guest on Thursday. Professor will probably show up on Friday. She'll show up at some point here. We have a loaded week before the Eagles take on the Minnesota Vikings off the mini bye. Brian Flores, he could probably dial up some sim pressures. He might just dial up some
He's
pressure
so good,
pressures.
man. He's awesome. I mean, as a DC, strictly speaking, as a DC, he's gonna have some stuff.
Yeah. Well, there's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about this week. I got to be honest. I don't even know. Is Wentz playing this weekend?
I got to be honest too. I'm not entirely positive.
We'll figure that out with everybody the rest of the week. Thank you to Julia for her production excellence. As always, the original Julia doing that for us.
OJ.
and for EJ, I will say as we close it out here, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.